It's very scary. We should all be scared. Education lags behind.
To the point that teachers do only work 9 months of the year, or whatever comical comment that would be.
There needs to be change in education. Right now, we're going through a massive change.
It would truly be lovely if I could just lay on a beach all day, all summer long.
Stop whining, stop crying. You're working crazy hours anyway.
I've never had a summer off in my entire life. I've always had a second job in the summer. Every single child in this nation deserves a high quality, equitable education.
What do you see as the biggest challenge or biggest challenges facing education today?
Yeah, I have two separate answers for you. One more geared towards our greater system and students, and one more geared towards specifically teachers and challenges that I see.
Hey, we have to respect our teachers. Our teachers are heroes. They're amazing. They're on the front lines. They're taking care of our students.
I love the first day of school.
The Avenue of the Strongest is a podcast dedicated to exploring the lives and experiences of the most inspiring individuals from around the world. Each episode features interviews with fascinating guests who share their insights and wisdoms on a variety of topics, including education, impact, motivation, health, and learning. I'm your host, Ania Chowdhury, and today our guest is an inspiring fourth grade teacher in Cleveland, Ohio, who went viral for shedding light on just how much teachers can be underpaid. Kyle's passion for working with young people began as a counselor at summer camp. Kyle's desire to impact the greatest number of young people possible led him to Teach for America. Today, Kyle continues to teach fourth grade while also taking on a wide range of leadership roles in the field of education. He is an aspiring principal and an advocate for all students who truly loves sharing his journey with others. Kyle has become a voice for teachers on social media, spreading his incredible energy. You can follow Kyle Cohen on Instagram and TikTok, which is at Mr. Kyle Cohen. Kyle, thank you so much for being here with us today.
I'm so excited to be here. That was a great intro. Thank you.
No, thank you. I mean, I should thank you because Kyle right now is sitting in his classroom after school talking about so many problems with the teacher. I hopefully I'm not the problem. Kyle, you're going to write a post and say, today I had to spend an extra hour after school.
This is causing teacher burnout right here. Yeah, this is it.
Exactly. This podcast is sponsored by ArgoPrep, an award-winning educational publisher serving over 1 million students nationwide. If you're a kindergarten to 8th grade teacher or principal, be sure to check out our supplementary workbooks to get your students ready for standardized state testing. We cover all subjects from kindergarten to 8th grade. Use the coupon code AVENUE for a 25% discount off of all purchase orders. Visit us today at argoprep.com/store. So I want to start talking about the hottest topic, probably. First of all, teacher burnout is arguably one of the hottest topics right now. It's a very serious topic to talk about. But before we talk about that, I really want to talk about artificial intelligence. It's all over. Everybody knows about it now. And honestly, we're currently in an AI race. I think it's also fair to say that most students know what ChatGPT is. It's an advanced state-of-the-art language processing AI model, which has a wide range of applications. With ChatGPT, students can create a 2,000-word count essay in a matter of seconds. It can explain tricky math problems step by step and so much more. In fact, just a few days ago, GPT-4 was announced, which is already advanced on so many more levels. Now, I'm from New York City. Our districts have already banned the use of ChatGPT on school computers and networks. There are obviously also many districts nationwide across the United States that are banning this, the use of this. I want to know, what are your thoughts on this? Are the districts making the right move here?
Yeah, I'm definitely not an expert in the world of AI or ChatGPT or anything like that. But from my perspective as a classroom teacher and aspiring school leader, I often find that in the field of education, educators, generally speaking, are very slow to embrace change. It takes educators, especially those who've been in the field for a long time, it takes a lot for them to really get excited about new technology or new resources or new programs to implement in the classroom. Because for a lot of them, what they've been doing for so long has worked and it has been really effective and they've had a lot of success. But for me, I believe it's really important that we're preparing our students for the world that we live in. And it's inevitable that our students are going to be growing up in this world where they embark on jobs after high school, where this technology is part of their everyday work. So we need to be preparing them for that. I don't necessarily think the approach of scaring our youth into using this technology is right. So like a ban to me doesn't make a lot of sense. We need to be really coaching students and showing them how this technology can be useful, not to do our work for us, but for a lot of other uses that could possibly make our lives easier. So that, again, when the day comes for them to graduate, they're ready for the world that they live in
Yeah.
and not thinking this technology is going to harm them or something like that.
Have you as an educator, as a teacher, have you tried using any of the AI models out there and try to play around with it yet or not yet?
I definitely have played around just a bit. I'm a fourth grade math teacher, so I've definitely write me 10 problems on X, Y, and Z with an answer key, something like that. So very small things, but I'm excited to learn more about it too and find out more about how it can benefit students.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because you just said, okay, write me 10 problems with the answer explanations. In fact, that's not small at all. That's actually incredible because teachers prior to this, or I guess a lot of teachers still do this, they actually, a lot of teachers create their own lesson plans. And some teachers actually go out of the way to even create their own materials, which is very, very time consuming. So something like this, it is radical. And in fact, I think this is going to, not I think, I know that this field is going to revolutionize so many industries.
Mm.
It's very scary. We should all be scared, but it's as long as we're ready to adapt, that's fantastic. I will all survive. However, my problem is, we've been in the education field for so many years now. My worry is about education because, as you said, education lags behind, right? We're so afraid to embrace technology. Maybe afraid is not the right word. Maybe it's all the bureaucracy, right? Maybe
Yeah.
it's all the paperwork and 5,000 layers of approval to get something done. But I do agree that there does need to there needs to be change in education. Right now, we're going through a massive change. But I will go ahead and now transition over to, instead of AI, we'll talk about more problems with teaching. So it's funny. Finland was just crowned the happiest nation on earth for the sixth consecutive year. And teachers in Finland have a very high status. They have a great deal of respect from society. With that being said, what do you see as the biggest challenge or biggest challenges facing education today?
Yeah, I have two separate answers for you. One more geared towards our greater system and students, and one more geared towards specifically teachers and challenges that I see. When it comes to our education system, I believe the greatest challenge that we have in this country is the fact that students in one zip code have a dramatically different educational
Mm,
experience and life outcomes from students who live 15 minutes down the road in a different zip code. And we see this all across our country in different communities. And I deeply believe that every single child in this nation deserves a high quality, equitable education. And it's the unfortunate reality that the way our system is currently structured, we are not meeting the needs of all students. In terms of challenges that we're seeing also in our system, which lead back to the point you were saying in regards to like how teachers are treated and the status of teachers. Teacher pay is top of that list.
yeah.
The way we respect our teachers in this country is a huge challenge. And in March of 2020, we had a reckoning as a nation where we finally had this calling of how important our teachers are, not just for the
Yeah.
education of our students, but for the resources that students provide our kids. And we almost made a commitment and a promise that we will shift the narrative and the focus to value our teachers. And I don't see that change happening. Teachers do so much, again, not just for the education of our students, but for who they are as people. And until we provide our teachers with the love and support and resources that they need, we're going to continue to see the challenges that our education system faces.
I'm so glad you brought that up. In fact, I share the same sentiment as you. When the pandemic hit in 2020, the narrative was greatly shifted. Hey, we have to respect our teachers. Our teachers are heroes. They're amazing. They're on the front lines. They're taking care of our students. Whether your school was already shut down and you're doing virtual learning, or when we came back, right? You were a teacher. You were exposed to dealing with crowded facility, 30, whatever it is, 15 students in your classroom, 20, 30. In New York City, it's super crowded, right?
Yeah.
But the sad reality is a couple of years later, not even a couple of years later, we're talking about a year and a half. Nobody cares. Okay, the entire narrative just went away. I don't understand that. I mean, as Americans, actually, I don't want people to yell at me for this, but we're so good at shifting the narrative for a brief period of time and calling
Hmm.
somebody heroes like our teachers, and then just forgetting about that, right? A year and a half later, everyone seems to forget. Teachers are no longer heroes.
Hmm.
Honestly, that's a sentiment. It's that's what it is. But yeah, I mean, how do we really change the narrative for good? Talking about teacher pay, I saw a lot of your videos actually, but the one that stuck out to me was the video that you posted where it was this December of 2022 actually. It was a holiday party. You had to pay $21 to attend your own, I mean, a teacher's party at your school,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the teachers I talked to, I'm probably same in your school as well. It was like a jeans day. Teachers got to wear jeans, but in order to wear jeans to participate, they had to pay $5 to the school. So
Absolutely.
it's small things like that that play into the big overall issue over here. So I want to go into the first full year of teaching. When you were a first year teacher, were there things that you look back at now and you were like, oh my god, I can't believe I did this as a first year teacher? What was I thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like not even just for teachers, but everyone in their first year of work. But for me, I definitely struggled with work-life balance as a first year
Yeah,
teacher. Was working around the clock, and teaching is a job that is really easy to constantly work because we're never done. Like I never feel at the end of the day that everything is perfect and set and I've just checked everything off of my to-do list. The to-do list is never ending and we always can be doing more. And in the world of social media in particular, I find that I'm constantly comparing myself to other things that teachers are doing and amazing things that are happening here. And again, there's more always. But at the end of the day, we need to be taking care of ourselves as people so that we can show up for our students day in and day out. And that was something that I really did not fully understand in my first year of teaching. It's something I'm still continuing to work through in my fifth year of teaching,
yeah.
but making sure that I'm prioritizing myself so that I can, again, show up for my students
Did you end up spending money out of your own pocket as a first year teacher?
constantly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like we've talked to so many we work with so many teachers,
Yeah.
and that's like always the case. I hope I can find one teacher one day who said, nope, I was able to be in that 1% zone where I wasn't able to spend money. But yeah, I mean, listen, teachers are severely underpaid, and to add to that, every teacher that I know spends money out of their pocket.
Well,
Every teacher.
I'm really fortunate to work in a district that has a lot of resources compared to so many. But a lot of the time, too, it's so convenient to just spend your own money as opposed to
Hmm.
going through the systems that need to happen in order to make a purchase. And given the lives of teachers and so often what our workload looks like, I'm not planning months and months and months down the road to
Right,
foresee something I might need at that time. I know, like, Valentine's Day is in 2 days. I need to get these kids something so that, like,
right,
and I'm just going to go buy it. It's so much
right,
easier, but it's not how it should be. And we have
right.
to come up with ways to address those issues for sure.
Right. By the way, I love your energy in your videos. You make a lot of great videos. I really like one of the videos that you recently made where you said you need to remind yourself that as a perfectionist, your B plus work is often
Mhm.
enough. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I identify personally as a perfectionist, right? And so some people who are listening to this might not vibe with anything I'm about to say and are the complete opposite kind of person. But for me personally, I the, I strive for very high quality work all the
Mhm.
time, and my standard for high quality work is incredibly high. And as a teacher, I'm teaching math, reading, science, social studies, writing. We have social emotional learning. So
Yeah.
on a typical day, I could be teaching 4, 5, 6 lessons. And within all of those lessons, we have so many materials that we're using and resources and worksheets. It's never ending. And in my first year of teaching, second year of teaching, continuing to work on it now, striving for everything to be perfect. Everything that these students do all day, every day, it just has to be the highest level because I believe that's what they deserve. They deserve the highest quality education. And as a perfectionist, I'm going to work around the clock in order to make sure
Yeah.
that happens, but I'm just one person. This idea of lowering my standard to a B plus for myself looks like instead of shooting for what needs to be 100% high quality, perfect work, aiming for a B plus. And at the end of the day, no one will probably even know because my B plus work as a perfectionist is probably a lot of people's what they would consider to be A plus work.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know that I've gotten really positive feedback about something that I would even call like my C plus work. Like I've had
Mhm.
observations with my principal before where I was like, that wasn't even that great. Like I could have
Yeah.
done so much more and I would get such positive praise. And it's a reminder for me that like it's really okay to let some things go, right? Like not everything has to be perfectly color coded or laminated or have like the most perfect feel to everything. So lowering that bar for my own sanity so that I can find what's really important that needs to be that A plus work and what is actually okay with being C plus work, if that makes sense.
No, well, to me, that makes completely perfect sense because I'm the exact way as you.
Yeah.
I am a textbook definition of a perfectionist. I need everything to be perfect. But that quickly can burn you out really quick, right?
Yeah.
Especially as a teacher, when you're doing a million things, it's just not sustainable in the long term. So I totally, and that is such good advice. Your B plus work, your B work, maybe even your C plus plus work is great work. It allows you to be great all the time. That's really what it doesn't mean that you should perform at a B plus level, but it means that typically your B plus work is it's very high. Now, I
Yeah,
want to talk. Yeah,
absolutely. And just to going off of that point, if that's okay, it's picking and choosing too, like what needs to be A plus work versus what doesn't. So
right.
I have certain things that like I know are very important for my students, and that lesson in particular or this activity, I want to go that extra mile in order to take it to that next level. But there are other things where like it just won't make a difference one way or the other. So it's really starting to identify what is that A plus importance versus what could just bring the bar down a little bit.
So let's talk about something important, something that is usually an anxiety-related topic, which is the dreaded standardized state testing. What's your experience been like? I imagine teachers in general have a lot of pressure, like just in general, making sure the entire class is ready for the end of year exams. And you're a fourth grade teacher, so your students have to take the end of year state math test as well as the ELA test. Uh, w- uh, do you have like any tips or strategies that you really use to help your class and students get ready for these exams?
Yeah, we're in it right now. ELA testing's next week. So for me as a fourth grade teacher, it's not just important that I'm teaching my students the content that's going to be on their tests, but they also need the test taking strategies in order to succeed on the test. So I find that we're spending a significant amount of time actually walking them through how to test. So
Mm,
often we think that they know how to cross off answers that are bad. They know how to find evidence in a text. They like, of course they do, but a lot of the time they don't, unless if these things are explicitly taught. So we walk
mm,
through as simple as like crossing off those answers that just
mm,
don't make sense, those little test taking strategies that are really important so that when they get to the test, they feel that level of confidence that they're not really stressing about the content. They're not really stressing about how to take the test. They could just kind of proceed through it and hopefully it won't stress them out. But standardized testing and what we're asking our students to do at such a young age, it's inevitably stressful for them. And going back to the conversation that we were having previously, a challenge that I feel right now as a teacher is the fact that my students right now are taking the same tests that my fourth graders were taking back in 2019, when we know that there were these huge challenges that
Right.
students experienced throughout the pandemic, and we're just proceeding as if that never happened. And we're
Right.
keeping those standards exactly the same. The tests are
That's
looking very similarly. But we know that there are these tremendous gaps through data that we've seen in nationwide assessments. But again, we're not adjusting these end of semester, end of year tests that our students are taking. So there's that challenge too. So it's lowering all of our bar of what we're actually going to be seeing, and knowing that it's not all on me, right?
yeah.
So if these test
Right.
scores aren't what they need to be, or if these tests, air quotes for those of you listening, or if those test scores aren't as perfect if they have always been, again, it's not our individual fault. It's not on us, the individual classroom teacher, because there's only so much that we could really do.
Yeah, no, it's actually a good point, right? Again, we're now in 2023, and the same theme is as if everyone forgot that there's a huge learning loss that occurred. It's okay, well, the pandemic never happened. I
Mm-hmm.
hope you guys are ready to go through all of the fourth grade standards that have been tested for
For
since
years.
2019, 18, 17, 16. Exactly. So that's actually a very good point that you make. It'll be very interesting to see as the data comes rolling in.
Yeah,
Um,
my fourth graders started the pandemic when they were in first grade, and this is by far the lowest group of readers that I have ever worked with,
hmm.
reading specifically. So, I mean, I know that for a fact based off of the things that I'm seeing. So, I agree. Very curious to see what we find out.
Hmm. I want to talk about a very serious topic now. So, and I think it's a very important topic to address that's really not talked about often, which is the shockingly low number of men that teach in elementary school. First of all, it's men aren't generally teachers if you take a look at the data, but if we zoom in into the elementary school level, it's like horrible data. And you wrote, so when I was a student in elementary school, I can count the number of male teachers and staff members on one hand. To this day, as a teacher, I can do the same. Not much has changed. You're absolutely correct, Kyle. Why is it so important for us as a society to address this issue? Why do we need more men entering into this field?
Yeah, I believe our students need leaders and mentors in their life that look like them. And I find it extremely troubling that we have children in this country who grow up in households that don't have a positive, strong male person in their home, then going to school where they don't experience that possibly until middle school, maybe high
Yeah,
school, until they
yeah.
have that person. And I believe mentorship looks like you being able to see yourself physically in your mentor. So I don't even think this is just necessarily important for men, but also when we talk about race, and
Mm,
all sorts of
yeah.
other gender identities as well, or identities, not gender identities, broadly speaking. But in terms of men in elementary, yeah, it's true. Like there are me and one other male teacher, our custodian, and our principal in our like very large elementary building. And I just think that representation is huge.
Yeah, and for those who are listening or even watching, I strongly suggest that you even do the research because there has been research done, and all of the research strongly suggests that both male and female teachers contribute to a well-rounded education and a child's social emotional development. Teachers are role models for students, especially at the elementary level. Like when you have a first grader, second, like these students look up to you. At a fourth grade, I'm sure every student in your classroom really looks up to you. It's important for the boys in the classroom to see also a male teacher. They need to understand what a good male role model looks like, and there's been studies that show that, and it's very important. So I think it's a very important issue that we do need to address, and I hope we'll see something in the. It's a very complex issue, right?
Yeah,
But we'll see. Now, so it's a random question, but do you get nervous on the first day of school typically?
I love the first day of school. If every day was like the first day of school, I would love teaching. Again, I came into teaching for the love of working with young people and for really making learning fun. And the first day of school is purely fun. I mean, all we do on the first day of school is play games and develop relationships and break the ice. So I look forward to that day. And at this point, like my first day of school is really successful.
Yeah.
And so it's less nervousness and just really excitement.
No, fair enough. That makes sense. That makes sense. And Kyle, I do have to ask you to address this question for some people, because when I look at comments, when teachers post comments from parents typically, I always see parents saying, "Well, teachers, you get the summer off. Well, teachers, you only work 9 months or 10 months, whatever the case is. You have 2, 3 months off. You have the summer off. Stop whining. Stop crying. Stop doing this. Stop." What are you doing this summertime? I mean, every teacher I know, they say, hey, honestly, it's not like we have summer off. So can you clear it as an actual fourth grade teacher once and for all? And
I
second of all, you're working crazy hours anyway.
I've never had a summer off in my entire life. I've always had a second job in the summer, whether it's working at summer camp or trying to create products for teachers or creating content for teachers. I've always had a second job. Not every single teacher that I've worked with has had a second job in the summer, but so many teachers are spending time with their family because for all my coworkers who have children, they spend so little time with them during the school year because of how
Mm,
busy they are, that it is so nice that they can actually spend quality time with their own kids. And to the point that teachers do only work 9 months of the year, or whatever comical comment that would be. If we really break that down into the amount of hours that teachers are working, like there are so few teachers I know who are effective in their jobs at clocking in, clocking out 40 hours a week and
right,
calling it a day. We need summer too to get ready for the school year that's coming, preparing materials, professional development,
right, right,
because we're constantly learning and developing, right? If we want AI to be implemented in our classrooms, I need a course over the summer that I
right.
can take, right? So there's so much that goes into it, that it would truly be lovely if I could just lay on a beach
Right.
all day, all summer long.
Right. And I want to clarify, it's not optional PD. It's but for people that are thinking, well, it's an optional thing. No, schools have mandated professional development. It's not like you can just opt out of it. So
Absolutely. There's mandated professional development, and then there's so much that if you're a good teacher who honestly like cares about developing your craft, you're going to want to learn. You're going to want to grow. If you're the kind of person who is in this job and you're just like counting down the days to retirement, you're obviously not going above and beyond to take on additional PD. And I'm not judging. Like you do what you need to do for your happiness. But I am the kind of teacher, I'm the kind of person who constantly wants to be providing my students with the best education. Again, that's why I'm in this job. That's why I'm in this field. So I'm excited about learning. I'm excited about these new ideas. So professional development, I'm all here for it. It's just, when can I do it? What does that look like? When do we have time? And summer is usually best for that.
And Kyle, I have two last questions for you. If you can give one piece of advice to teachers who are struggling, just burnt out currently. There's so many of that right now. What advice can you give them?
Yeah. Teaching is so hard. It's always been hard, but I feel like what we're dealing with now is just a level of challenging that it's impossible to even wrap our heads around, and we feel it day in and day out. So when it comes to burnout, I feel you and I am with you. And when I'm feeling that way, there's a couple of things I do. First of all, I always ask myself, which is very cheesy and corny, but like, why did I decide to go into this job to begin
Mm,
with? And for me, it's really clear, and I've shared it here with you all already. It's the fact that I want to live in a country where our students have the opportunity to attain a high quality education. And I can't do anything about that if I am not in this work, fighting alongside them and our system each and every day. So like, that is my why. And when I'm really struggling, like, I continue to go back to that. And also when I'm feeling burnt out and tired, it's really easy to be lazy and like phone it in, but I
yeah.
actually try to push against that and do the opposite. I try to plan something extremely fun Like, I have the benefit of working with kids. I can't even imagine spending my day all day, every day in an office or
Yeah.
working
Okay.
from home by myself. Like,
Yeah.
I am such the kind of person who loves working with young people that we're just going to play a game. If I'm feeling like the system is too much or my work is too much, like, we're just going to do something fun. And that alone can fill me up and remind me why I am so lucky to get to do this each and every day. So I leave that with you, that hopefully that could be
No,
useful for teachers as well.
I absolutely love that. And Kyle, I have one more question to ask you, which is, who has been the strongest or most inspiring person in your life, and what lessons have you learned from them?
Oh, that's so nice. Um, I would definitely say my parents. I am so incredibly fortunate that I grew up in a household that didn't just value education, but valued me being who I am and just living into who I am. My parents really instilled in me the importance of doing what makes you happy, not
Mm,
necessarily doing what pays the most money or doing what is like, some people deem as successful,
yeah,
but for me, my parents just really wanted me to grow up into a person and have a career that just really filled me up at the end of the day. And I feel really lucky that I came from a household that instilled that, and that I get to do that each and every day.
I love that. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us today. More specifically, thank you so much for being a passionate teacher and all that you do for our kids, and continue to being an amazing, amazing role model for all these students. For those listening, you can follow Kyle on Instagram and TikTok at Mr. Period Kyle Cohen. That's Mr. Period KyleCohen. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.